Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham and this, of course, is the home of common sense. It's the one show where you do not have to worry about judging anything because we'll do it all for you. We're very judgmental, you see. I've got a great panel. I've got Alex Phillips, the one and only. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo makes a return. Chloe Dobbs is back and Howard Cox, who I haven't seen for quite a long time, but welcome back. Good to see you all. Alex, you've got to start off with the plank of the century, haven't you? The one and only Sir Keir Starlin.
Here he goes, Keir Starlin, I forgot that. Now, here he goes again. When is a deal not a deal? When you've essentially gone over with a silver platter and said, what do you want? We'll do anything, bending and scraping, and then they decide to flagellate you.
Yes.
I mean, this is utterly ridiculous. This started off with the EU needing more weapons, right? Because America said, we want shot of you, you're rubbish, you don't defend your own backyard. And, of course, they've depleted a lot of stocks in Ukraine. And they came to Britain and said, oh, you got good weapons, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you make some stuff that we could
but
do
you can't sell any of them to us unless you give us some fish.
Pay us to sell them.
Yeah.
Oh, and then bring back free movement. Oh, and then dynamically align, i.e. follow all of our rules in agriculture. And then give us some fish. And so, at least on the fish, he put up a fight.
Yeah.
He said, I'm only going to give you 4 years. And they said, no, we want 5 years. He said, no, only 4 years. And they said, no, but we insist on 5. And he said, OK, 12 then.
12 years. Yes.
I mean, and then you've got all these people taking...
He's the worst negotiator in the history of negotiating, isn't he? I mean,
what is this?
It's not negotiating, whatever it is that he's doing. And also, he swans around as if he's a member of some kind of private club, which is saving the world. You know, every time he says anything, you know, Vladimir Putin just laughs. I mean,
but do you think he actually wants to annihilate before the next year's up? Because this is just crazy.
Yeah.
People know what it is. It is a betrayal. It is basically walking back to the EU and saying, let us back in, even if it hurts us grotesquely.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go into all the thorny details of the carbon swapping plans, all these other things which are going to decimate our economy.
And this is only the beginning as well, because he's going to march us all through these gateways that he's
This is what he's done in year 1. What happens in years 2, 3 and 4?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy.
But as far as the fishing is concerned, do we have 12 years in European waters too?
We don't get anything.
We don't get allowed into those waters.
Exactly.
It's them coming into our waters. But apparently, according to the government, we'll be allowed to sell our fish to Europe, so that's a good thing.
Especially the shellfish.
Except that nobody's actually catching anything. We've got a fisherman talking, or as Steve, what's his face, the Secretary of State for the Environment, told me, Steve Reid, he calls them fishers. You know, just in case there's any
They have declared themselves.
So this is a fisherman talking about Starmer.
So when he says this is good news for the shell fishermen of Britain, you're not so sure?
No, I aren't, no.
What do you think it'll mean?
I don't believe a word he says, to be quite honest. He speaks with forked tongue.
He speaks with forked tongue. I mean, if you wanted central casting to bring you a
I know,
fisherman,
right? I was just
you'd
thinking
go,
that.
is that Captain Birdseye?
I know, it's great, isn't it?
Have you got any fish fingers
Well,
any place?
I mean, Keir Starmer is just allowing the French to take us for absolute fools. We are paying them to send all of the migrant dinghies our way. They literally ferry them to the centre line of the channel and then say, off you go, off to UK Border Force. We're giving them, what, £500 million for
We've
that.
given them loads of money to do that.
And now we want to pay them to not only send small inflatable dinghies into our waters, but to also send fishing boats into our waters. And I mean, you know, as you say, Alex, it's just bonkers that we went to the negotiating table thinking, we'll ask for 4 and maybe they'll push back with 6 or 7. And we've come out with 12. And also opened
as somebody
the mud
said,
rates to...
you know, when he said he was going to stop the boats, we didn't think it was the fishing boats.
Exactly.
But that's
the
what
French,
he appears to have done.
The French always come in at the 1 minute to midnight in any negotiation. This is their old tactic. The fact that the Labour Party were taken by surprise by this is just miraculous, you know. He sold out pensioners, he sold out small businesses, sold out farmers, and now he's sold out the fishermen. This is a man who's trying to desperately get back the Red Wall from this existential crisis. He's talking like Enoch Powell 1 minute, now he's Captain Europe. He's totally schizophrenic.
He's totally schizophrenic. Let's have a look at what Kerry Badenoch had to say.
When Labour negotiates, Britain loses.
And that's the thing. He keeps rabbiting on about how your bills are going to come down, you know, your jobs are going to go up. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to get all this investment. It's all like pie in the sky.
And we're going to do everything to actually make
happen.
that a photo negative of the promise,
Yeah.
basically.
I haven't seen anyone...
It's lefty spin doctors trying to make this look like a good story when actually it is complete and utter betrayal. It means we're taking rules from the European Union without having a say. We're going to have the ECJ getting involved, telling us what to do and how to grow our food. Yet he's there and all his Labour spin doctors telling the press, we are back on the world stage, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're back on the world stage sweeping it. That's what they're doing.
Exactly.
But the best possible spin they can put on it is it's going to add 9 billion to the economy by 2040, which is 0.3%.
Nothing.
We're giving away so much just for that. I mean, and we're spending 7.5 billion a year on 1 million foreigners getting universal credit in this country, let alone the bill of 15 billion for migrant hotels. I mean, it's absurd.
I know, it's unbelievable. And also, the thing that they thought was the real icing on the cake, and Starmer got that face. You know that face he got when he said that there was the first woman chancellor, and he kind of goes like this, and he gets all kind of, he gets rictus grin. He did the same thing. Yeah, we're going to have e-gate access. We're going to be able to not queue up at the airport. Everybody's going, what's he talking about? Every time I go to Europe, I actually quite like going through the non-EU gate because there's nobody in it. So there's actually the biggest queue is for all the EU who are coming from various other countries, and we get to walk through the gate where there isn't anyone.
Mike, you might as well award this to Alex now. But, who else?
It's a hard one to beat. However, just for you, Howard, I knew you were coming in. Here's Sadiq Khan talking about why we should return to the European Union.
In the medium to long term, yes, of course, I'd like to see us rejoining the European Union, not just being rule takers, but being rule makers as well.
So he's even admitting that we're now rule takers, which Keir Starmer said we wouldn't do. No. It's unbelievable. Finally, this is just something funny, I think, that Chuck's put in for us. This is Rachel Reeves, or Richard III, as we like to call her. What's she up to?
Rachel Reeves, who's been speaking about the inflation data.
But the numbers today are clearly disappointing. We want to see inflation coming down after the cost of living challenges that people have been through this last few years.
I think we've got a problem there with the sound again.
No, it was perfect.
What was she doing? Taking the inflation out of a balloon filled with helium?
That's her normal voice.
We should just for good measure, we should say that inflation suddenly went up to 3.5% this week, even though they said that they were under control. With
this deal with the EU, that sure as hell isn't going to help that, because the main reason why that inflation figure has gone up is because of energy prices going up. Yet we're now saying we're going to get all involved with the EU's net zero deals, and we've got to be as good as them on our net zero policies. That is going to drive up those energy prices more and more. We had that, horrific period where we had double-digit inflation, and we finally, Bank of England, or the government, whoever you want to say is mostly responsible for it, we got it down, and now it's shooting back up again as soon as Labour in power. And unless they boot Ed Miliband and stop this net zero lunacy and have been this deal with the EU on net zero, it's just going to get worse.
But everything they're doing is contributing to it, including the national insurance rise in April, which meant that everything costs more and people have got less money. But anyway, Rafe, over to you for a bit of history.
Gosh, this one as a historian makes me want to cry or laugh. I don't know what to do. Apparently, Stonehenge was built by black people. This is the latest thing that our children are being taught, and we're paying for our teachers to teach this.
Of course.
It comes at the same time we found out that only 11% of kids in schools are being taught about our great achievements like the Battle of Waterloo or the Battle of Trafalgar or the Glorious Revolution. Instead, they're being told that sub-Saharan Africans were present here for thousands of years before any white man set foot on this country. Right. And also now apparently that the slaves who in the Islamic world were castrated, this was part of their gender transition.
Oh, really?
What? Oh, my God. Please tell me you're joking.
And the West African kingdoms that enslaved all the Africans, sold them to the Europeans, they're actually not culpable at all for involvement in the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is the rewriting of our history in this country. There's an attempt basically to downplay all our successes and create these new myths about Britain's history.
And when do
it's always been multicultural, always been a land of immigrants and diversity built Britain.
But this is the Sadiq Khan nonsense, isn't it? That, London was built by immigrants, and people go, actually, no, it wasn't. Unless you take, every single person that ever walked the earth in Britain as an immigrant. But, how are they sort of time dating this as far as when it actually happened? Do they know? Well, because we don't even know when Stonehenge was.
Well, Stonehenge goes back to the Neolithic times, but it was in the Mesolithic period. You've got what were called the Beaker people, who were sort of the first peoples in this country, but they came from Iberia. Right. So they were darker skinned, but they had blue eyes, many of them. Yeah. And they were as black as Tom Jones is black in Wales. I mean, that's what back in the old days, when you said black, you weren't thinking about Africans, you were thinking about swarthy Spaniards and Portuguese and so forth. And yet this has been deliberately played up by BBC Horrible Histories, by our schools, where they actually show Africans saying, we've always been here.
Yeah. A bit of a letdown for the Welsh, isn't it? Because they thought they built it. I mean,
but the good news is, guys, because they now think that Stonehenge was built by black people, that means that we won't have to knock it down to decolonise it. Because, these lefties will knock it down if they think it's built by white people. I mean, we had, that huge amount of money spent on employing someone to decolonise Hadrian's Wall, for example. And we've had all sorts of stories like this, and they want to topple all the statues of anybody who's white, who's been a part of our history. So at least it will stay up now.
Yes,
we'll have something to look at when we go past on the motorway.
I think we've got a picture of the actual book itself, which has been written presumably by somebody who knows nothing about history at all.
Well, that's the thing. She's not a historian, Antonucci. I'm waiting for the sequel where a black man was the first person to walk on the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite extraordinary, isn't it? Chloe, over to you for a bit of the law.
We've got Lord Justice Holroyd, and this is the judge who denied Lucy Connolly's appeal to reduce her prison sentence. And for anyone who is not aware, this is the 41-year-old mother who was given a 31-month sentence for a tweet relating to the Southport attacks, which was not a very nice tweet, but she's got PTSD from losing her 19-month-old baby after a mistake on the NHS. That PTSD was flared up when she saw that 3 beautiful young girls were killed in the news. She wrote a silly tweet, went for a walk with the dogs, came back and went, oh, that's silly, let me delete that. And also then when rioting did start in the subsequent days, she said, do not get involved, and was tweeting, condemning it. But apparently she deserves a 31-month prison sentence. And, just to be clear, there are rapists who have been given lesser sentences than this. I mean, what kind of world are we living in where a tweet gives you a longer prison sentence than raping a child? It is absolutely disgusting. And the reason why this judge is, the reason why I absolutely despise him is because he reduced the prison sentence of Lord Ahmed of Rotherham, who sexually abused 2 children.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? I thought you just hated him because of his ridiculous outfit. But, the trouble with these people is that they hide behind the law. We keep hearing that, of course the CPS didn't recommend that the full force of the law should be used. Keir Starmer actually said it, and unbelievably, yesterday when this court case came up, when he was asked about it, whether he thought it was the right thing, do you know what he said? He actually said these words, I'm not completely across the details of that case.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he acted as if he's got no idea, even though the whole country
He had
is
the
talking
balls
about
to say that, the brass neck to say that he didn't know about the case. I mean, seriously?
But I would like to know how many people were actually influenced to actually go about and do some violence or burn down mosques. She said it in a way I would say, they can burn down the houses for all I care. For all I care.
Exactly.
Come on,
but also the people who actually carried out some of the violence during the riots got shorter sentences again than she did. And they hid behind the fact that, the sense of the appeal was whether or not it was harsh or, too harsh. And they said they didn't have the jurisdiction in the case to actually say what they should have done was take into account the fact she's got a 12-year-old daughter who she hasn't seen because they haven't allowed her out on compassionate grounds, which any other criminal would get, right? And it's very clear that the instruction went out from Downing Street to the legal profession. You absolutely prosecute these people and you put them in jail for as long as possible, and then you also tell their lawyers to tell them to plead guilty, which is also what happened.
Right, there was no trial. If there'd been a trial, she wouldn't be in prison. It's that simple. You've got that Labour activist guy, that Labour councillor, he decided he wanted to take it to trial. Didn't plead guilty. Oh, when's that trial coming up? Never. And she's been made a political prisoner because she was being used as an example to other people. It's harrowing that we've reached a situation in the UK where someone like Lucy Connolly, not a bad speck on her record, who is a childminder to kids from all different backgrounds, all different races, gets upset one day because little kids have been murdered, and she was thinking about the parents of those children.
Yeah, of course.
And she wrote something and then later deleted it thinking, this isn't me, this is not how I normally say things. Then she did plenty of tweets saying, the rioting's dreadful, I wish it would stop. I mean, it's case closed. The woman's not a threat to society. There's no reason for her to be in prison. The reason they've abolished her visitation rights is because they've made her a political prisoner. So now they can't risk having her out and having the newspapers and the paparazzi all around her. They are disgusting.
I know.
This is the sort of behaviour that happens in really dodgy countries with tyrannical leaders, the sort of people that we go crying to the UN about, the sort of people who we said, oh, look what they're doing to Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe over in Iran, putting her under house arrest because they want to use her as a political pawn. The world shed tears over Nazanin.
Don't worry, they're letting plenty of
Lucy, forget it. Let her rot. They're
letting plenty of other prisoners out, though, because they've embarked on a £700 million scheme to put people on electronic tags. But she can't have one. But you can have a couple of rapists, you can have some domestic abusers, you can have some sex fiends, sex attackers.
40,000.
40,000. Yeah, I know. It's absolutely incredible.
And your plank, Alex, actually said, we are the home, the bastion of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
He's sick.
Well, we used to have the gold standard for the judiciary.
Yeah.
And then Tony Blair changed the appointments process, created another quango. And now, since they've been in charge of this, you've had diversity quotas coming in. I'm afraid to say, I used to mock American judges for being elected because they were beholden to the mob. I now sort of think we might need to go down that way in order to bring some balance back into it, because the disconnect is so great. And let's be clear here, the reason this is happening to people like Lucy Connolly is anyone who speaks the truth about the reality of diversity in this country, all the horrors that are coming out of it, they have to be suppressed. The political class are so scared of this country being a tinderbox and exploding that they are suppressing any truth tellers.
And even though they've been told not to do that, because that actually makes everything worse, they're still doing it. It's absolutely extraordinary. Howard, I can't believe you're going to have this next one for us. I mean,
how did you allow me to do this?
I haven't seen you for a while, but, you know, let's get it on. Go on.
Well, some people have complained about a certain encampment, not in north of France, but in Park Lane.
In Park Lane? I've seen it. It's absolutely shambolic, isn't it?
I know, and where people defecate in public and bend over.
I think we've got a bit of footage of it. That's where they're all living.
It's a fine figure of a man there. Look.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what gets me about this is
horrible.
People have complained, businesses have complained, the hotels have all complained about that. And guess who is defending the camp?
I don't know who.
I think he's called our... Well, it's his fourth time he's Mayor of London.
Yeah.
So, but the man himself is saying that he welcomes immigrants over, they contribute to the country, all the usual thing. And he's still trying to make London this sort of the Islamic capital of Northern Europe.
Yeah.
And those are the sorts of things we're seeing now.
What are they contributing? Fertilisers, parks and gardens?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yes, very good point. I mean, and also it's been there for years, this encampment, right? And the more you wander around that part of London, the more you see, there's Roma beggars all over the place. They go and sleep in the central reservation of Park Lane at night. And, it's not safe for people to walk around anymore at night.
It's impossible to. I mean, as you know, it's a very affluent part of of London, etc. And that there are people now not spending money there.
There are loads of people from the Middle East that I know for sure who are now not coming to London because they're frightened somebody's going to steal their watch, somebody's going to steal their car. They're going to get hit over the top.
That's just it. Sadiq Khan is saying that they are culturally enriching
Sadiq Khan,
right?
I like
But they're enriching themselves because they are primarily Roma. Yeah. These are the gangs who come over and they do the pickpocketing, they do the shoplifting, they got the three cups on the wall, and they do the begging. They can stay for 90 days to try and get a job. After 90 days, they have to leave. So they leave after 89 days. They go for a day trip to France or Belgium, come back another 90 days there. There is no cultural enrichment happening with this group of people.
So I'm deeply sorry for not becoming Mayor of London. I apologise.
Yeah, I'm going to blame you personally for not beating it.
How dare you?
But, I mean, you won't be surprised that he doesn't mind going on the record to say some of this stuff. Here he is talking about migrants' contribution.
A skilled migrant's family will contribute £12,000 a year. That's even when you take away public services they use. A British skilled worker's family takes from the economy £4,400 when you include public services they use. So the idea that skilled migrants are sponges or skivers isn't the case.
That's just a lie, isn't it? That whole statement is a lie.
It was cherry picking at its absolute finest. So he gave there not the stat of what your typical migrant contributes to the economy. He went for skilled migrants, and I believe that stat that he picked is for highly skilled migrants, not low skilled migrants. Yeah. So it was just ultimate cherry picking, just picking whatever stat fits his narrative about the world, which is completely delusional.
Yeah,
Mike, and I'll say it again, he is a pathological liar.
Yeah.
Please take me to court.
That's why it's in the Labour Party.
He's a disingenuous cretin. Only 1 in 20 migrants in this country are a high-skilled net contributor.
Yeah.
Wow.
For every £1 they bring in, the low-skilled bring out £1.60.
Right.
The average migrant is a net drain on the economy from the moment they set foot on British soil. They cost over £150,000 each by the time they get to pension age.
And those are government stats, aren't they?
£465,000 by the time they get to 80. That's OBR stats.
Yeah.
Only 12% of migrants are skilled. The majority of skilled migrants are low-wage earners.
Yeah.
There are only 0.8 of migrants are doctors, only 0.6 are scientists and engineers.
Right.
This guy needs to be held to account for gaslighting the nation.
I thought all those people on the dinghies were doctors and engineers, though. I mean, now you've completely burst my bubble. I mean, he had the actual unfortunate state of having to be community noted on that, because when that clip was put out from the radio show that he was on, it actually got corrected on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that show. It was chef's
I mean,
kiss
that is just embarrassing,
note.
Isn't it? You're an elected official. You're supposed to be the mayor of one of the biggest cities in the world, and you're putting out false information knowingly.
And he didn't come and say, "Oh, sorry, I got it wrong."
No,
he wouldn't do that.
No, because he's not interested in saying that he got it wrong, is he? I mean, he won't even answer questions when he sits in mayor's questions in the central London Assembly.
He knows what he's doing. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're off to a great start. That's the top 4 gone. Coming up, we're going to be talking about Eurovision. I don't know if you saw it. I didn't, but I'm very glad that I didn't. But I'm still putting him up as a plank. And of course, Gary Lineker. Unfortunate for him, he's going to make his last appearance this weekend. We can only hope. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Now it's time for my first nomination, and I'm going to nominate Eurovision. Eurovision, to me, has become a ridiculous sort of spectacle, and it always was a really stupid event anyway. But I mean, when it sort of started, there was some reason for it. There was some point to it. Britain always does really badly. You know, it seems to be a sort of punishment block for us to go in and just be humiliated by not only whatever the act is, but also by every other country. Here we are this year. It sort of took on a slightly more naked, aggressive tone because, of course, the Israeli-Palestine subject came up because Israel's entry was a woman who had been at the Novo Festival when Hamas decided to invade it on October the 7th, 2023. She was actually buried under the corpses of other people at the festival, and that was the only reason she managed to survive and didn't die. But of course, that wasn't good enough for the people from the left who were there from Palestine supporting countries, because they said that they thought it was a good idea to boo her, even though after all of that terrible ordeal that she went through, it'd be great to boo her, and some idiot from Youth Demand tried to actually invade the stage. And somebody said to me, what level of a mind do you have to have that you want to attack somebody who's a survivor of a terrorist atrocity when, she's actually doing it? I think we've got a little clip here of one of these Palestinian activists.
Hello. Yesterday, we took action with Youth Demand at the Eurovision final against Israeli participation.
Just before the Israeli performer came on, a load of extra security was rolled out, but regardless, we still hopped over the barrier and attempted to disrupt the performance in whatever non-violent means we could.
I mean, it's beggars belief what these
They're
people...
English.
Yeah, Youth Demand.
This is the rebrand of Just Stop Oil.
Yeah,
so
right.
they've stopped protesting because they think that they've achieved everything they want in terms of stopping oil and gas licenses. But they've got to do something with their time because they're just, lazy students that sit around and don't get jobs, right? So they've decided to go and take over Eurovision. I mean, as you say, how could you do that to someone who nearly died? She had dead bodies laying over her and played dead so that she wouldn't get shot as well. She went through a horrific ordeal, was completely traumatized, and then you go and do that. I mean, it's a singing competition. There are countries that I don't like, maybe like Russia, who might compete in a sporting event, but unless Russia has engaged in doping as they have done in various events, right? I wouldn't want the athletes to be banned, right? Just like I wouldn't want a singer in Eurovision to not be able to perform their act just because I don't like their country's foreign policy.
I know. It's
ridiculous.
Bonkers, absolutely bonkers. But just for good measure, the public vote, of course, voted in massive numbers for the Israeli entry, which was a woman by the name of Yuval Raphael. But at the end of the day, Britain was the winner, really, because once again it was nil point for us. So let's have a look at that.
United Kingdom, from the public, you get 0 points.
I don't know where they managed to find these acts, because surely they'd be better off, would they not, just finding somebody on the street busking to do something, wouldn't they?
Well, why do we care? Britain and America are the two global giants of the music industry. We've got nothing to prove to Europe. I think we should have fun out of it, actually. Every year, send out someone like Al Murray, the pub landlord, to sing Land of Hope and Glory with some anti-French lyrics, and just take, the whole nation will be united.
It would be.
And have some fun with Eurovision.
Yeah, because actually, it's of no... I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we used to watch it, and I'd say, why aren't Led Zeppelin not doing it?
Well,
or
we
the
gave them
Beatles
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We'd probably still get no points.
But we also gave them Puppet on the String with Sam.
Puppet on the String was all right. I didn't mind that. Alex, over to you. Our favourite
Good old Gary Lineker. I mean, you know, he's had his comeuppance, one might say, since putting out that tweet with that vile emoji, which is definitely anti-Semitic. And he didn't know anything about it. He just regularly repeats Hamas propaganda without checks and balances. Yeah. So the BBC's had to give him the boot. Finally, after his sort of 25 millionth incursion against the BBC guidelines, they've got rid of him. But as a result, he's lost 800k, which sadly, quite frankly, for him is probably coins down the back of the sofa, isn't it? But
he's not short of a few quid, is he?
Yeah, at least maybe they've got more to give to, I don't know, whoever the next person is who's going to be sort of just, tweeting wildly about left-wing
Nadine Dorries
things.
actually wrote a great column this week in the Mail saying, maybe it's time that they stopped giving all of this power and money to all these presenters. These
it's
kind
a crazy amount of money to talk about
amounts
football.
Of money. He was the highest paid...
Dave down the pub can do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hugh Edwards. Hugh Edwards, who was the second highest paid man, I think, at the BBC after Gary Lineker, who took a pay cut down to $500,000. Because he was getting something like 700,000 at one point. Lineker was getting 1.5 million, took a pay cut to get him back down to $1 million. And he's been trying, to be fair, to get fired for ages, isn't he?
He has.
Well, that's how it looks.
I think he likes it. I think he wants to sort of be the martyr for the cause, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I just, what motivates these people? Why do they do this? I mean, it's when you've got so much money, you think you've got so much influence that you're just completely untouchable. Yeah. And that is how he's behaved. The thing is, he's got all of his own, businesses to fall back on, his podcasts.
He's got podcasts.
His very lucrative. Yeah. He's talking about football somewhere else, all those great things that are saving the planet and changing the world.
The funny thing is that if he'd, say, for example, been pumping out what might be described as pro-Israeli propaganda, he might actually have a problem because he'd probably be cancelled. But because he's been virtue signalling about Gaza, he'd probably be all right, won't he? I mean, the only place he might find it difficult is in America. Because somebody said to me, maybe he'll end up, because he's now been dropped from being the commentator for the World Cup next year. And somebody said to me, maybe he'll end up doing it from one of the American networks. But I think they're quite strong on pro-Palestinian groups. And they certainly under Trump, they wouldn't dare employ him.
Rumours say that he's going to ITV.
Well, ITV haven't got any money though.
Yeah, but
they've just made 320 people redundant.
Why would they have him at the World Cup? I mean, isn't the World Cup in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think so.
So what are you going to have? Like him and Thatcher down Mecca with their rainbow flags?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he went to Qatar.
I'd actually pay $800,000 to see
he
that.
Went. I mean, he did go to Qatar. Remember, because they had that ludicrous match of the day opening sort of monologue by Gary Lineker about the terrible human rights record of Qatar, the same country that runs Al Jazeera, from which he had taken about £500,000 quid a couple of years earlier.
Why can't he just stick to football? That's what you're an expert in. Just stick to that. Just like how I hate seeing someone like Taylor Swift, who's an expert at singing but knows nothing about politics, parading around telling us all why we need to vote for Joe Biden. Exactly. I'm sorry, but just
how did that go?
Yeah, it didn't go very well, did it?
I don't want to know what Wayne Rooney thinks about the Ukraine war. I don't care what Harry Kane thinks about Trump's trade tariffs. No. I don't care what Lineker thinks. Get back to what you do.
Yeah.
Stop lecturing us. Right. You're clearly so. If you don't understand that a rat is an old trope for Jewishness and anti-Semitism, you shouldn't be on a platform like yours speaking with some authority. I'm terribly sorry.
And he's now, of course, possibly facing investigation by the police. I mean, I'm sure that will come to nothing, but several people have complained that what he did was equivalent to a hate crime, which you could easily make that case. I mean, I don't want to see, like you, Alex, I don't want to see people getting prosecuted for tweets or for what they've written down on social media. But, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It would be quite funny, at least, even if Plod turned up at his house, and sort of led him away down to the police station in handcuffs, even if they let him go later. I mean, look at all these people on Twitter who've been given, 8 hours in a police cell for something that they've tweeted. Why shouldn't they give the same treatment to him? See how he likes it.
That would humble him, take him out of his rich
zone.
London bubble.
Yes.
I mean, I was so happy to see that he was losing that 800k, even if it is coins down the sofa, as you said, because I was absolutely gobsmacked that with Hugh Edwards, he's getting to keep all his money and pensions and whatnot because his contract with the BBC did not have a morality clause. It's very typical in a contract that you would have a morality clause that says if you mess up our reputation, you will not get all your pension and all your perks. They just somehow forgot to put that in Hugh Edwards' contract, but luckily it was in Gary Lineker's contract, so he's not going.
I suppose
to get
maybe
his
that's because
800
Hugh Edwards was a member of staff of the BBC. Maybe there's a different rule. But let's have a look at his resignation speech, because he had to make a speech, didn't he?
So I think it's best for all concerned that I step down from BBC presenting duties altogether. It's been a pleasure and a huge privilege working with the BBC for 30 years. especially hosting Match of the Day, a programme that is so close to my heart and an integral part of my life.
You see, if you put in that shot, two bearded guys with AK-47s, he's halfway to actually making a video for terrorists.
It's true. I mean, holding up a copy of today's paper, you know, I've been taken hostage by the
Islamists. He's close to his heart and his wallet.
Yeah. Also, doesn't he find it's a slight irony where he says, you know, for all concerned, it's probably best if I don't present the World Cup and the FA Cup final? Which is kind of, it sort of sums up the whole ridiculousness of the situation, doesn't it? Because here he is, a guy who presents the FA Cup final, suddenly having to fall on his sword because of something he said about Gaza. And of course, the idea that he didn't recognise the rat is complete nonsense, because if you looked at the actual rat, it wasn't a rat. It was a rat with a human head, and the human head was a depiction of a Jewish person.
It's obvious
so
what
it
was
was
going
clearly.
on. And so why has he been given a swan song? Why is he allowed to actually have... He should have just left there. I'm sorry, anybody else who did something would be out on their rear.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And apparently the Free Speech Union, by the way, have today said that they will represent him if he so needs to be represented, if he's... touched up by the cops.
Well, free speech is free speech.
And that's a good thing, you know, and it's because you wouldn't get that from the other side, would you, as it were? So, Rafe, over to you. Illegal migrants and dogs.
Yes. Well, today's poster boy for cultural enrichment is an Egyptian fisherman called Ahmed Ebdi, who's been sent to prison for 25 years for bringing almost 4,000 migrants from North Africa to Italy and then throughout Europe. Nasty man. He said to, you know, throw off anyone on the migrant boat and kill them if they use their phones and disobey orders and so forth. Now, you might think this chap lives in Italy or North Africa. No, of course not. He lives in Old Blighty. Yeah. For 3 years he's been living here. He came over in 2022 with his wife and his daughter. Yeah. We knew that he had been in prison.
In a dinghy, right?
Yeah, in a dinghy. He'd been here he'd been in prison in Italy for 5 to 6 years as a drug smuggler. Yeah. And yet the British Home Office couldn't decide whether to reject his application or not.
But we need
what a moron. What a moron. He's part of that 0.8 of doctrine.
Well, the Home Office didn't just accept him. They gave him a nice flat for his family in Isleworth. I mean, how many people in this country cannot afford to rent a flat in London that's big enough for them and their family and are having to live out in some outskirt commuting in for hours? But this guy, he's getting a free pass, even though he was in prison, as you say, in Italy for 5 or 6 years for being a drug dealer. Right. And this guy is not just costing the taxpayer with that one flat that he's got for himself. He's costing the taxpayer for all the hotel costs of all the migrants that have arrived in England as a consequence of this smuggling operation.
Yeah. And he made something like 12 million quid. I don't know whether they're trying to claw back some of that money. But presumably while he's in prison for 25 years, his family and his wife and his kid or whatever are still going to live in the taxpayer-funded flat in Isleworth, right? Surely they should just say to him, look, mate, you're going back to Egypt. You know, don't care if there's a relationship
but his human
in place.
Rights, Mike.
It won't happen,
and the family can go with him. They can all go.
Just go.
Bye-bye. Cheerio. You know, you can go and stay in a prison over there if you want.
They might not like the chicken nuggets in Egypt.
They might not like the chicken nuggets. I mean, there are several stories around that, aren't there, as well?
Well, it gets even more crazy. I mean, it just goes to show you how broken our system is and how completely unfit for purpose the Home Office is, because now somebody came over in another dinghy with a German Shepherd.
Yes.
Can you imagine this? And this dog is now being paid for at the taxpayer's expense.
How do you know that's
I don't know whether that's the actual dog.
Chuck's just shown any old picture of it. I'll say no, you don't know that.
But of course, it has to go into quarantine now, obviously because of rabies and everything else. Yeah. But we're paying for all this nonsense.
We're paying for the
German heritage, though, so it should go back
to Germany. Yes.
Yeah. No, he'll be able to stay under the Keir Starmer rule of under 15.
Yes,
so under 35.
In dog years,
it's under 35 in dog years. He's fine. You know, it's not a problem. But the most ridiculous thing about this is that now, whoever it is, the asylum seeker that brought the dog, who I think is now also in prison, is he not? Or he's arrived here somehow.
No, he's just waiting for his...
He's waiting
in
for
a
his
hotel
That's right, he's in a hotel. So he will no doubt say, well, I can't be sent home because I've got my dog here. And so I need to stay with the dog. So now what's going to happen is, you know, the French will be on the other side of Calais with a load of dogs just going, here, one for you, take it on.
Yeah.
And it's one man and his dog.
Poodles.
Yeah, little poodles. You know, little French bulldogs, you know, the ones you can carry in a bag. They'll all be coming with dogs, won't they?
Well, apparently when this dog arrived, initially Border Force thought, thought, maybe we will use this dog as a border patrol dog. They'll train him up. This dog could be the one to smash the gangs. But apparently they've been that idea now, and he's just going to live in a doggy hotel at the taxpayers' expense.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. There's also another story, isn't there, this week about a migrant who can't be deported because of his son.
Yeah, it's an Iranian criminal, and typical ECHR Article 8 being used to stop him being deported. Why? Because he cuts his son's hair himself, and if they deport the father back to Iran, then apparently he can't cut his son's hair remotely.
Right.
I mean, they do
take his son with him.
They could take his son. Also, even if the son stays here, I mean, I don't know if you've ever walked down the high street, but there are more Turkish barbers than the kid could possibly
There's no shortage of barbers,
from. Yeah,
that's for sure.
It's not like that's an issue, but apparently ECHR, Article 8, we've got to keep this criminal in the country.
Hasn't he also said that he can't be sent back to Iran because he may face some kind of problem from the judiciary there because he had sex outside of his marriage?
Yes. Apparently we can't send him back because he might be penalised for having sex outside of marriage. But, I mean, who cares? You're a criminal. We don't want you here. Off you go.
I mean, Keir Starmer again came out last week, I suppose it was, with the immigration new, as you say, Enoch Starmer rules, where he said everyone's going to be deported immediately that they actually commit a crime, or immediately after they've served a bit of time in prison. So where's that all going?
Well, can you imagine a Prime Minister making promises on immigration and not delivering?
I can't imagine it. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, listen, we're powering through all of this. Coming up, we're going to be talking about some crisps, believe it or not. And that's nothing to do with Gary Lineker. We're going to talk about pensioners and also a certain MP that Howard Cox knows quite well who's been trying to get me sacked. He's going to make the list as well. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are more than halfway through now. We've only got 3 more nominations to go. And Chloe, it's over to you for a hotel in Blackpool.
Yes, a hotel in Blackpool has apologised to a couple of its guests. It was a couple who went for a nice romantic getaway.
In Blackpool?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, shocking. Huh?
I mean, some people used to do that a lot. And I mean, there's a lot of like stag do's and hen do's go there.
Yeah, and but anyway, it was her birthday, and the man decided that as a nice birthday treat for his crisp-obsessed girlfriend or wife, that he would ask the hotel to plan a special surprise and get a 30-pack of assorted crisps and put them on the bed in the hotel room to surprise her when she arrived.
How romantic.
And they were expecting to see some packets of crisps on the bed for her to enjoy during her stay. But they opened the door to the hotel room and just see a load of crisps opened up, not in their packet, just across the bed, making for nice crispy bed sheets. There we go. That would be nice to sleep on. I mean, anyone who's been in the bed and found a toast crumb in the bed knows how uncomfortable that is, let alone that. But
that's horrific.
So they very much did not understand the instructions, the hotel, and they've had to apologise to this couple for ruining the surprise and giving them a bed full of crisps. But apparently, the woman, she did actually tuck into some of these crisps that were laid out on the bed, which I think is a little bit gross, to be honest.
That is. I mean, did they think it was some kind of sexual kink that they wanted to have
sex they probably
on a bed
did.
I suppose there are people who pay for
crunchy
that.
sex.
I suppose so. I mean, you wouldn't want to go to a hotel where they were actually able to do that for you, though, would you? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder if they gave her some of this new flavour of Walker's crisps that's come out. It's called Smug Lefty Moaning flavour. It's got a picture of Gary Lineker on the front of it.
Well, you never know. Well done for getting that one in.
You remember that film American Beauty, where they had the cover was this naked woman lying on all these rose petals? I thought we could do a British version and call this Blackpool Beauty.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's one of the most strange things I've ever seen. Howard, over to you. HMRC.
Yeah,
everybody hates them.
Yeah, I know, but I've got to make a declaration first.
Right.
I'm the only OAP here, aren't I?
I think so, just about.
Just about.
Yeah.
I'm 70.
Yeah,
Mike.
all right.
You're a mere, what, 43?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
No, dog years.
But guess what? We're talking about tax, HMRC here. And last year, something like 74% more tax assessments or questionnaires were sent out to the whole of the population.
Right.
Something like that. It's something like it's an extra 500,000.
Yeah. Pensioners are having to do tax returns.
Most of those were pensioners.
So they're having to do tax returns.
Yeah, because of the fiscal drag.
Right.
The actual tax levels, when you start paying tax, have been frozen. So they've moved into that. And also, to be fair, pensions have gone up.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about that sort of thing. But the point is...
You're not going to make much money on a state pension, though, are you?
No, I'm sorry. It's 12,500 quid is what we're talking about.
Right.
And with reform, they want to move it up to 20,000, which I totally agree with, that sort of thing. But I'm afraid more and more pensioners are coming to pay tax.
Yeah.
And HMRC I seem to be rubbing their hands. And I understand the prediction for this year, it's going to be about another 50 or 60% on top of that 75% of pensioners being brought into paying tax.
Right.
Hang on a second, they've paid tax all their lives.
They've paid their tax all their lives. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, Angela Rayner this week came out and said as well, in a sort of leaked memo to the Telegraph, that she wants to go after more people who've got savings. You know, so if you've got any money at all, you know...
But there is some good news this week, I understand. I think, isn't they looking at the fact that the winter fuel allowance is actually going to be come back?
Well, they're looking at it, but I mean,
I think PMQ's this week, he actually said, yes, we're looking at it. And about actually who qualifies more, whatever that means.
Well, I mean, everybody said at the time when they put the winter fuel allowance on that if they just waited a year, they could have done it better, they could have done it more efficiently, and they could have upped the level at which they continue to give it to people. Like, for example, give it to people over 12,000 now because of different thresholds, so that not so many people are caught up and not getting it.
I'll be honest, I don't need it.
Right.
That sort of thing. I mean, it should go to the people that do need it.
Yeah, but there are people who do need it who are currently not getting it.
Exactly.
Because if you want to apply to get pension fuel credit or whatever it is, you've got to fill out a questionnaire of about 249 questions. Which is nobody can do.
Sorry, my wife just called me and says, yes, we bloody well do.
Yeah. Well, I always take the view that if there's any money going from the government, I'm taking it.
Yeah,
because I've given them so much over the years that I will absolutely take it, even if I don't need it. You know, I'll give it to one of my children. They're always after money anyway.
But I don't think you've ever given plank to HMRC, have you?
I don't think I have, actually. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to give it to them this week either.
I know you.
I mean, I don't want to disappoint you. I mean, it's hard. Keir Starmer.
I've never won it, so...
Although the next one's coming up. This is an MP, a Labour MP. Labour MP for Dover, no less. We're going to talk about him coming up next on Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and we are very nearly at the end of the show. Before we decide who's won it, of course, there's one more final nomination from me, and it's an MP that, up until relatively recently, I didn't know very much about. His name is Mike Tapp, T-A-P-P. Which is kind of a weird name. I'm not quite sure what the antecedents of that is. But he won the seat in Dover. Obviously, Dover was a Tory seat. And I'm going to pass you over at this moment to Howard Cox, who actually fought the seat in Dover for reform, right? And came relatively close to winning it.
I got 24% in 3.5 weeks campaign.
Yeah.
Mike Tapp was campaigning for 2.5 years. Beforehand, and he doesn't even live in Dover. He lives in Tunbridge.
Right.
Little things like that.
Quite a long way away.
Yeah. He's quite a nice guy. At the count, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning, he came up and shook me by the hand and said, "You fought a great campaign."
Yeah.
Had I had another 4 or 5 weeks, if Mr. Sunak had given us a bit more time,
yes,
I think there'd be a lot more MPs. And definitely Dover would have won by
because
reform.
it was before that. It was Natalie Elphicke, wasn't it?
Yes, Charlie before that.
And Charlie Elphicke before that, who got sort of defrocked after chasing
he was
women.
A naughty boy.
Chasing women around the kitchen cabinet.
But Natalie moved across the...
and then she became a Labour MP, didn't she? That's right.
From Tory to Labour.
So tell me some stories about Mike Tapp, because I sort of went on Twitter at the weekend on Sunday to see that he'd put out on... and you know when people take screenshots and instead of, putting the person they're talking about in it, so they didn't refer to my handle or Julie Hartley-Brewer's handle, but he put out... here's the tweet that he put out. And he basically said that we're entertainers, we're not journalists, and because of these terrible tweets that we put out, we should both be sacked. And he addressed it to talkTV. Now, the one that he objected to that I did was on top of a Keir Starmer video, because he makes these incredibly boring, dull videos in which he makes these ridiculous claims. And he said something like, secure at home and strong abroad, or something like that. And I literally quote tweeted it and said, his house was literally firebombed. So it's not particularly secure at home. I thought it was quite funny. Julia did a similar thing when it was announced that his house had been firebombed. She said, well, that'll narrow it down to about 47 million suspects, which is also quite funny. So he got completely flamed, of course, when everybody on Twitter. He went, who the hell do you think you are, calling for the sacking of people just because you don't agree with what they say?
It's a joke, Mr. Tapp.
Does
that mean all of us are going to have to be sacked?
Oh, he's not going to like this show, that's for sure.
He's really not going to like it.
This guy clearly can't take an ounce of humour. I hate this era we're living in where you can't make a joke anymore. Comedy is dead. Any comedy you like that is still available on the internet, download it onto a hard drive, because it's going to be... We've already seen Little Britain taken off the internet, and I'm surprised that Monty Python is still out there on the internet.
Well, I think there's a bit of a backlash going on, though, because there are lots of these other channels now that you might not be able to watch it on a BBC iPlayer, but you can certainly watch, shows like Rising Damp, from the old days when I was growing up, which is really funny and probably, quite sort of risque, I would say, under the circumstances now, and all sorts of older shows where you can see on like Talking Pictures and things like that, and Gold and whatever, and they're getting millions and millions of people watching them because they're funny.
Yeah, people love it. It's just a few angry lefties that put pressure on people to take things down. And then they give in to the mob and they take things down. I mean, we have had, for Little Britain, we've had Matt Lucas and David Walliams apologise for how, racist and horrible the shows they went by. Why did you give in to the mob?
I know.
Why did they do that? Leave the show up. Let them complain. Yeah. If they don't want to watch it, just don't bloody watch it. Let the rest of us enjoy it.
But Mike Tapp, just to brief it, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff on him. I was offered lots of things about him. I'm afraid I can't say on here.
How irritating that
was. Come on. That's a bit disappointing. Come on. Can I give us one at least?
Well, go on. I can't. The fact is that he is the ultimate sycophant. And he is groomed for things. He does everything that Starmer wants of him. You watch him talk about it.
Oh, well, I'm sure that...
And he's been on various questions shows. But there are a few things that, he wouldn't like to be published. Nothing illegal. Yeah. Just a bit sort of...
You've got to give us a clue at least. I mean, where should we go looking for Mike Tapp and where he spends his time?
Sounds like...
I'll tell you what I was hoping for, but because I put out, I found another tweet of his where he was talking about something in the House of Commons, and his hair was kind of coiffed in a rather strange, like quiff, which I said looked like that shot from Something About Mary. When What's Her Face comes out, having. Cameron Diaz comes out because she's got sperm in her hair, basically, from something that she'd been doing earlier.
I haven't got that one on my tap.
No. Funnily enough, I said to Chuck we should get that and play that out. And it was deleted, so presumably poor old Mike Tapp realised that was a bit of a piss take too far, so he couldn't have it. Is Julia Hartley-Brewer talking about Mike Tapp?
Fully renewable in what?
Not Vladimir Putin.
Fully
if you want Vladimir Putin to control your energy prices, that's fine. Labour don't.
Fully
and we'll ensure that doesn't
fully renewable
happen.
in what by 2030?
So in electricity. And that's a really
you
good
think we're going to go fully renewable?
That's the ambition.
That's the ambition. There is nobody who knows anything about energy in this country who thinks that's remotely possible.
This is a really important ambition, and if we can deliver on this, it also
You know what my ambition is? I'm going to be a size 10 supermodel. I mean, it's not going to happen, mate.
Hello, Julia. But you're right, he's an absolute sycophant, and no doubt somebody at old Starmer headquarters, Obergruppenführer Starmer, has said, this Mike Graham's a bit of a nuisance. He keeps having a go at me and making fun of me. Can you call for him to be sacked and see what happens?
Carbon neutral by 2030.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll be carbon neutral by 2021. But the point is that what we don't need in this country are more politicians telling us what we should be saying and telling us what we should be doing. So I'm afraid he's on the list now for quite some time. He's going to have to struggle to get himself off the list.
I'll see what I can actually tell next time I'm on.
Yeah. Well, you can give us a hint, sure.
No, I can't. Michael,
nothing at all.
No. Well, no, I can't.
I'm going to press you. I am going to press you.
No, sorry, Mike. I have to say no because I haven't got much money.
Okay, so here's the official version of Howard Cox's view of Mike Tapp. He's done nothing illegal, but he has got some things going on that he can't tell us about. I leave you to make up your own minds of what that could possibly mean.
Stay tuned.
Now, I think we've got to go through the winners and losers here today. I mean, I think, Alex, it's going to be very hard not to give it to Keir Starmer, isn't it?
Yeah,
the farmer harmer.
How many times has Keir Starmer won?
Never here. He's won it quite a lot.
He just lives as a plank 24/7.
I mean,
Keir Starmer.
We do a Plank of the Year show at the end of the year, and I think at the moment Harry and Meghan have sort of faded a bit into the background a bit because they're just not very interesting anymore.
They just make jam.
And Sadiq Khan was the main sort of rival for Harry and Meghan to win, but I think Starmer will probably win it hands down.
Hands down.
How bad is he?
Maybe Ed Miliband.
It's only done
No,
one year.
Miliband doesn't get it as often as because
he can't win anything. Poor old Miliband.
Yeah. I mean, Miliband's keeping his mouth shut a bit at the moment because I think he knows he's on the sort of the wrong side of the bed.
I'm going for him next week on a big press release.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. Can you tell us anything about that?
It's basically about...
no, I'm joking. Right, so I'm going to say it. Keir Starmer, once again, Prime Minister, plank of the week. Well done, Sir Keir. What do you think? I mean, let's have a quick prediction. What do you think he's going to come up with next?
Oh, Lord knows.
I mean, you literally don't know, do you? Because it could be anything. You could literally decide to rename the Isle of Man because, it's a bit too gender-specific. The Isle of Person. I don't know. Anyway, this has been Plank of the Week. Thank you to Alex. Thank you to Rafe. Thank you to Chloe. Thank you to Howard. We'll be back same time next week with more Plankery.